job fair masterclass for students. And today we are having financial literacy because February is ending, but this month, even though it's short, it has been a month where most people spend without really thinking about it. But as students or as young people, how do we know our cash flow? How do you know where our money goes to? How do you know how to manage our money? There's a saying that goes that revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is king. That means it's important for you to know how your money is going, how you are able to manage it very well, to be able to use it for all the important things that you need to use it for. And today, I'm so honored to have two very professional and expert speakers to speak to us on this topic, Financial Literacy 101, that is managing cash flow for students. You're all warmly welcome once again. And before we start, I'd like you to take some time to look up ViztaEdu and then support us with your reviews and just put in a few words. If this session has been of impact to you, just share a few sentences. This will boost our page and make more people look up for us. Okay, more people get to know us and then be impacted by the things that we do and the webinars, educational webinars that we do. Okay, so the session will be in two parts. So the first speaker is going to speak, and then the second, and then we would have question and answers. So before the first speaker speaks, I would love to introduce him to all of us. I'm sure some of you may have seen these flyers going around. So Rabiwu Umar Kuta is our speaker, our first speaker. Rabiwu is the founder of RUK Fintech Solution Limited, a tech-enabled finance service startup firm that develops innovative accounting and financial software solutions and financial management services to MSMEs. That's micro and small, medium enterprises. Yeah. So he has worked for Zobi Ghana Limited, if I got the name right. And Zobi Ghana Limited is an incubation hub and business consulting firm as the finance manager. So he worked as a finance manager, a co-facilitator, and a project administrator. And currently, he is also pursuing Corporate Finance Institute, financial modeling and valuation analyst, and capital market and securities analyst certification courses. That means our speaker is very abreast. He is a student himself, okay, because he's pursuing all these courses to better himself. Even though he is an expert, he is still continually learning. And that is something that we should all keep in mind, that no matter where you reach, you are not there yet. You have to constantly keep updating and abreasting yourself of new information. Yes, so he holds an undergraduate degree in of Arts, in Economics and Information Studies at the University of Ghana, Legon. So he actually sent me longer than this profile, but because the flyer is is having a standard of number of words, we couldn't put everything here. But that goes to say that we have a very rich, well-experienced person. So please put down your questions, put down everything you would like to understand from this session. And whenever he is done, we encourage you to speak up, and then let's have this wonderful, wonderful, insightful conversation together. So Rabiu, if you can hear me, would you like to say hi?
Hello to everyone.
Yes,
Good evening.
please. Good evening. Rabi, would you like to present, or would you like me to present for you?
I think the presentation can be done from your end.
All right, that is fine. Okay. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah.
All right. So,
That's it.
Rabi, over to you.
All right. Good evening to you, Pile. Good evening to your guests, everyone. Um, this is a privilege, opportunity. I've seen all the accolades that you you have bestowed on me. I'm just a young, passionate man trying to start and get to a level that we all aspire to get to. And I think that we all have the capability to be able to get to that particular level. For today's topic, I was a bit distraught looking at the current circumstances that we find ourselves, where access to inflows is becoming a bit tight. So it was a quite daunting task, trying to speak on such an issue. But to an extreme also is that another point to consider because of the inflationary issues. Prices of goods has gone up, so you tend to have a limited resources. So it becomes extremely important that you look at your cash flows and try to be prudent and try to plan so as you will not find any shortfall in any way you find yourself. So our topic, as we say, financial literacy 101, cash flow cycle. I always see cash flow as a vehicle, a crude in a vehicle. Whenever you have a vehicle and you don't fuel it, it becomes difficult for you to be able to move it. So that is a crucial moment of cash flow for everyone, either personal or business. Cash flow, we can do it, we can see it in various plethora of dimension. Either you are looking at your own personal cash flows, or you are looking at a personal and business cash flow as well. So we'll look at these two components and see how we can be able to retrospectively analyze the two together. But it is expedient that um, we as you are looking at your personal cash flow or both personal and business cash flow to consider your cycle and see how you can build up the cash flow. I would enumerate and make it as basic as possible. Aquile, if you can go to the first slide. Uh, Cash flows basically start from somewhere, and the source of it is we have our needs and wants. And as we've gone through, I'll try as much as possible to be much more practical as possible. As we have gone through schooling, we've been taught. I know most of us have gone through basic economic theory, which talks about needs and wants. In this current dispensation, everybody has his own needs classification and then wants classification. But the basic ones we know is food, clothing, and shelter. For the ones luxury, new car, vacation items, these are some of the ones that peculiarly are seen. Maybe a car may be a necessity for somebody due to its proximity to work and then business purposes. But it's expedient that you know your needs and your wants so that you can be able to prioritize which one to go for. In basic economics, we've always been told that the needs comes first before the wants, which is also extremely important because with food, clothing, and shelter, it's expedient that you are able to prioritize those and then get them over the line. Actually, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, what are the needs? What are needs and wants? I think this is very clear from the perspective of an ordinary person. Your needs definitely are those that you cannot do without, and they are very dear to you, and they are crucial to um, the survival. So a typical example that I gave with the car is that if you don't fuel the car, you cannot move it. So it's extremely important that you consider all these things, and then those I call them statutory. They are statutory because if you employ somebody right now, basically you have to pay the person, and whenever you make a sale or not, you just have to pay it. So the needs are expedient that you definitely have to get some resources somewhere to be able to take care of those needs. Let's go to the next slide. So there are two components of cash flows, and well, most of the times I look at it from two aspects as well. Two aspects. We have um, the the accounting cash flows, and we have the real-time cash flow. Normally, I work with the real-time cash flows because the accounting cash flows I have a lot of principle and standards. But with the real-time cash flow, it just tells you how much you have in inflows and how much goes out per period of time. So today, how much did you get in? How much did you spend? So the difference is what we call the net.
Rabiu, your microphone is off.
Can you hear me now? Is
Yes,
it clear
please.
now? Yeah.
Yes.
Income. Let me come again. So with the inflows and the outflows, it's expedient that you consider the real-time cash flows and you look at your cash buildup. We'd like to take it from two angles. As I indicated, the personal one. As a student, definitely you are restricted to academic work, getting your pamphlet, um, how do you call it, taking care of TNT and then food. And with accommodation, that is statutory because you've already taken care of that. So these are your cash flow as a student. But as you progress and get into real life, that becomes more expansionary. Now you have to get a new place, rent. Now you have to look at how you can survive, and those are what I call real-time cash flows because you have to look at those versatility and then look at how you can be able to create a working plan for yourself, and how you can accommodate basically your extended family. In case you also get married, that's another huge responsibility on yourself. And then we have the big personal and business aspect as well, where you run a business, and then you also have to deal with your own personal needs. So these are typically the structural arrangements of um, a life cycle of a person. And so these are what I have indicated here. Well, you can go to the next slide. So how can you make good financial choices? It all boils down to you, and it all boils down to your plan. I think in the subsequent slide, we will look at that as well. But it all boils down to you and how you can be able to make um, a points to what you stand for. Um, and can you make a good financial decisions? Definitely, definitely. Options are there. You have to look at your advantages and the opportunity costs. You need to take a very right decision because I see it as the right decision in life. Whatever decision that we make has an impact on whatever we do, and also has an impact on your cash flow cycle. So these are issues that may crop up. So it is expedient that you consider all this life cycle, all these plan of yours, and then you look at all the opportunity costs. What I mean by opportunity cost in simpler term is that what can you substitute for this particular one? If, for instance, I want two things. I just want to rent a place or buy a house. These are two things. Either I rent it or buy a house. So I can either buy a house. Do I have the capacity to buy the house, or the opportunity cost of buying a house is not renting the place? If the opportunity cost of not renting the place is buying a house, these are typical scenario analysis here you have to make in your personal life, and that is crucial to show how your buildup of cash flows can be crucial to your survival. And so let's go to the next slide. Um, Budgeting is a very crucial aspect of your cash flow, and you need to be able to most of the times people say it's difficult to save in this economy, and I do to an extent agree, but I think that it also depends on your marginal propensity to spend and how you are able to plan. If you decide, okay, you earn 1,000 cities, or you have monthly salary of 1,000 cities, and you decide that 10% every time will be your first priority and that you save, I think that will be crucial to what you do. Um, so planning is extremely important. Another aspect of it is commitment to seeing to it that you are able to get the the saving aspect or the saving culture in you. If you are committed towards it, I tell you, you can do it. And these are very important aspects that can build up your investment portfolios, that can make sure that you can be able to make a very right decision, and that can also as well take care of auxiliary unexpected expenditures that may come up. You never know where you can fall sick. You never know where things may crop up. And these are very important things that you have to look at in terms of your cash flow cycle. How do you prepare your budget? So these are some of the things that you consider: estimate your income, and then look at your planning, savings, and the rest. And then how do you prepare? So I think, yeah, we can go. We can go to the next slide. So these are what we prepare a budget on. Basically, we can go to the next slide. How do you prepare your budget? Go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. I want to be a bit faster on them. So the budget analysis, we have the favorable variances, and we have unfavorable variances. When you spend more than 10% of what you planned, you should look at it carefully. Definitely, I think these are issues of savings, basically, because your cash flow expenditure system may be fluctuating. It needs for you to save, be able to take care of unfavorable variances that may happen in your life. And let's go to the next slide. Record keeping is one aspect. Basically, we don't do normally, especially for personal saving. I remember I tried doing that, but consistency purposes, you don't get a chance to do it. Electronically, we are not familiar with that particular aspect. We are not familiar with that particular aspect within our settings. So um, these are things that would definitely become relevant. If you, I would advise um, as as a person, you have to look at your planning cycle and then do more work on that particular aspect as well. And the financial planning is extremely key to how you succeed. And so you can look at a very important aspect of your financial. If you can do a monthly or quarterly financial planning of your business, that will be a major progress aspect of your business. So the process of you planning, it's expedient. It helps you control your cash flow cycle. It helps you look at how you can be able to save. It helps you look at how you can be able to um, be prepared to any unforeseen expenses that may come up. So and then so this a, a cursory outlook of a financial plan that you can consider and then adapt in your life, your personal life, or on your business. So you look at your personal goal, you look at your financial goal, and then you benchmark some of the things that you want to do, and then your timeline is extremely important as to when you want to achieve that particular goal. That these are things that you have to also look at as well. Definitely, there are other financial advice you can get. Definitely, we are not in an isolated island. Definitely, there are times that you need to seek some financial advice and take the right decision, because the right decisions are very crucial to whatever you do. I'll always say that personal decisions are personal, but with business decisions, you need to get the financial. Even with personal decisions, you can still go with the right advice to propel you to be able to succeed within the time frame that you set for yourself. And so these are some of the. Actually, next slide. Next slide.
That's the
That's the
last
right
slide
one.
I
So these are basically cash flow statements or cash flow cycle is extremely important in our lives. And as I indicated from the initial stages, it's basically about you fueling your car, because if you don't fuel it, you don't move. and it's extremely important that you build it up. I always look at how you can build up your cash flows, and as you don't tend to take the diminishing returns in terms of your cash flows. So look at how you can build it up, and the only way you can track as to how you can build it up is whenever you're able to plan properly, whenever you're able to put um, how do you call it, KPIs in place. Not only in business, but personally, you need to record, oh, with this particular quarter, how much income am I anticipating to come in, and how much has come in. You track exactly how much has come in, and then how much expenses or how much expenditure do I need to dole out. And these are things that would help you to track your progress and how you are doing, and it helps you to set up a very good build up cash flow, and you can see the progress that you've made. Most of the times, you don't do it because it's extremely difficult. It takes commitment and dedication to do that. And the only two ways you can do it is manual record or electronic record. If I know there are a lot of apps that are coming up electronically that can help you track your cash flows. And if it's manually also, that is also extremely good. You can take your records. If it's weekly, if it's monthly, it's quarterly, or if it's a mid-year or year, you can look at it and draw up your plan. And that will be a KPI for assessing whether you are able to meet up with your cash flow buildup. Um, these are important aspect of it, of the survival chain. And it's extremely difficult, especially within the economy that we find ourselves where things are skyrocketing. And that is extremely also important that you yourself have to put in a lot of efforts in making sure that you're able to manage it very well, so that you don't find yourself wanting. And I would entreat everybody to take that in good stead, to push and then start. It takes a lot of work, but a lot of endurance and commitment will see you through. Put up, if it's work weekly, if it's monthly, do your plans, put up your expenditure, put up your income, how much you intend to earn, and then start recording your expenses. And you yourself will be wowed by the controls in terms of the expenses that you can put up. So it is extremely important that we do that. I think I'll come up come. Actually, is it closer to my time?
Yes, please. It's time now.
Oh, okay, okay.
7:05. Yes. Any final comments before we go?
I didn't.
I
Can
thought you
you?
would conclude on your
Okay,
presentation.
all right. Then
Yeah.
let me conclude. So
Yes,
basically,
please.
what I would advise we do is that if you find yourself as a student, you have to look at your personal cash flow cycle. If you are off school and then you are also working, then you also have to look at your cash flow cycle. The income component is how you can build up your income as area, which has to do with your basic salary, which is statutory, and then you have to do with your savings, and then it has to do with your personal investment that you are making. It's not only these two, there are also personal investment that you make so that you can build up your cash flows. And then you also have to consider your expenditure patterns. And most of the times, what happens is that people are pension, and when they increase their income levels, they tend to increase their expenditure patterns, which is extremely very not advisable. If your income levels increase by 100%, necessarily doesn't mean that you have to increase your expenditure by 100%. Now, for purposes of discipline, you have to make sure that you're able to control that, so that in case of any unforeseen situations that needs a lot of expenses that comes up, you can be able to take care of that. So it's extremely important that you look at that, your marginal propensity to consume, and how you can be able to foster some control in your cash flows. If you're also a business, is expedient, is more critical to look at your cash flow cycle. It's expedient because every business runs on liquidity. It runs on money. If you don't have money, it becomes difficult for you to run. Your financial health lies with liquidity. It lies with cash flows. So it's extremely important that you know where you are coming up from in terms of your income area, and you know where you're going in terms of your income level. If, for instance, I start a business and within the first quarter, I want to make 10,000 cedis, I need to look at, write it down. How much expenditure am I anticipating to spend on it? And then you now track as to whether you're able to build up your cash flows, and whether you're able to get the necessary money that the 10,000 to come in, and then whether the corresponding expenditure is tallying. So it's extremely important. If I say I'm going to increase my or I'm going to raise 10,000, what it means is that I have to spend below 10,000 definitely. If I want to spend above 10,000, then I have to look at other sources of revenue, other sources of getting the deficit, which largely, I don't want to divert a bit, but largely is being seen within the terrain of government, which has to do with deficit. But it is expedient that if you have 10,000, you can budget 80% of your revenue, 60% depending on what expenses that you make. And then you now track as to whether you are able to build up and get the 10,000. Sometimes you can see it. If you say within a quarter you want to make 10,000, and by 2 months you are not making even 2,000 or 3,000, what it necessarily means is that you have to cut down on your expenditure to meet up with those figures. But if you are able to, if you don't do that, what necessarily means is that you have to go and borrow, which is another huge loss or huge burden on you as a small business. Now you have to look at all these areas to make you very, very, very strong. And most of the times, as business startup business, we tend not to do that. So we are found wanting in terms of measuring our performance. I've had experience of working with a lot of SMEs. They
That's
have
true.
been in business for 3 to 4 years, and then you ask them what are their track records. What I mean by track record is that have they measured in what they want to achieve, and what are they achieving now? They cannot be able to do that because in the first place they have not yet even set a plan as to how much turnover they want to make or how much revenue they want to make and how much expenditure has gone out. So it becomes difficult for them to track as to whether they are really, really, really performing. So it is expedient. I know sometimes it's extremely difficult, especially if the cash inflows are not coming. It's extremely because the mind itself is not even thinking about doing that. You get me? So it is difficult, but it
Yes.
is a commitment and dedication on all of us to look at those areas and plan. Even if you don't achieve it, you know that you have put in place measures to do that. If I put in revenue plans, I put in expenditure plans, and I've not been able to meet up with my revenue plan, I can just, how do you call it? Backdate it back to or take it to the next fiscal year. And what it means is that I have a plan. I have where exactly I want to reach, and that would put you at the very higher pedestal, and that would help you build your cash flows in a very
That
succinct
will
and a
help
very
us to
important way.
build our cash flows. Thank you
Mm,
so much, Rabiu. Your time is up now.
thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Really.
We appreciate your expert advice.
Mm,
One thing I got from what you said is that you have to know where you're going in terms of your
mm,
money. If you want to build wealth as a student, you definitely have to plan. Yes. All right. I believe this particular conversation was mostly centered on young people who are into businesses, or if you are a student entrepreneur, you might have found this particular session mostly helpful. So before the next speaker comes in, if you have any questions for Mr. Rabiu, if probably some of the terms he used you're not familiar with, or you do not have um, utmost understanding of some of the things that he said, you probably want to better simplify some of the key things he said. You can put up your hand and ask now, or yes, Do Interior and Events Management has raised a hand. Hello,
Yeah, hello, good evening.
good evening. You're mostly welcome.
Hello,
You may please proceed.
thank you. So I wanted to find out with it was talking about some of the apps you can use to do the electronic recording. So if you can recommend any of them, I'll be grateful. Thank you very much.
Okay, madam, doing TV and events, there are some apps that you can use. Some of them locally and foreign, but advise you go for a local one. You have Jose. I don't know whether you've heard of Jose. OZE, Jose, and then we have Bot
Yeah.
Accounting. Yeah, so
Okay.
these are some of the apps. Like currently,
But
we are also building. Unfortunately, we are also building our app. But unfortunately, the app is not ready yet. So what we wanted to do was to build the app and then concurrently help SMEs to be able to synergize themselves with the app. Because we saw the problem that although the apps are there, but most SMEs will still are not using it. And the gap is that the the app managers do not help them to synergize well with the app.
okay, thank you very
All
much.
right. So
Uh,
I do not want to interrupt you, but though interior and events management, I don't know if you are fully certified, but if you are not, we would like to proceed with the next speaker so that we would be within time when um, we would also ask for a short time for question and answers aside this particular session. After the next speaker speaks, we would have a session where you can also ask more questions. So, because of time, I would love us to proceed with the next speaker. Yes, so our next speaker works with the Ghana Tech Lab, and he is Patrick Godwin Ankra. He's the investment associate. So Patrick is an accountant and a writer and a sports analyst currently working full-time with the Ghana Tech Lab as an investment associate. At other times, he finds himself writing for the Business and Financial Times, Orthicles, the Marker Content Limited, Sports Kida, and Ghana SoccerNet. So these are four places he finds himself writing for magazines or times, financial articles, I mean, yeah. And I think sports, yes, he's a sports analyst who analyzes a whole lot of things. So if he's able to analyze sports and he's in the fintech space or he's in the finance space, he's definitely going to break some of these terms down for us also to better understand it and manage our individual cash flow. So he boasts of a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, that is accounting degree from the prestigious University of Ghana Business School, and is currently a part 2 student of the Association of Certified Chartered Accountants, ACCA. He loves to read novels, playing video games. He loves to watch football matches and movies as well. Yeah, so that is Patrick Godwin Ankara for you. If Patrick, you're on the call, can you please um, notify me? Okay, I think Patrick is not on the call at the moment. So, if there are any questions, door interior and events management, if you weren't satisfied and you would like to ask further questions on the previous speaker, you may please do so. But are you satisfied?
Hello, madam. Hope I've answered your question.
the Please, I couldn't get the second app you mentioned though.
Built accounting, built accounting.
All right, so there's Built Accounting, which is locally, it's a local platform that personally I also use Built Accounting. ViztaEdu, we use Built Accounting for our fintech. I think Sammy or Albert, someone has raised their hand.
Okay, yes, I just wanted to find out, ask a question whilst we wait for the next speaker. Like I wanted to know some of the common mistakes people make when managing their personal cash flows, and we want once we know them, we'll be able to avoid them. So I just wanted to know if you can inform us about some of the mistakes.
That's a great question. I've worked with, engaged with a lot of SMEs, and there are some common mistakes that they do. First is that is manual records. They don't have enough records to keep. I've had the chance of reconciling and developing statements for most SMEs. The major challenge is that they don't have record to show for 3 years or 4 years of hard work, and it becomes difficult for you to be able to really balance and then get a statement for them. Most of the time, what you hear is what they give options they give you is the bank statement, but largely most of the transaction doesn't pass through the banks, so you can't reconcile all the or you can't get all the transactions through the bank, which is a very key aspect of most of the business SMEs that I work with. And the secondly aspect is that most of them are reluctant to know about financial literacy. And you don't need to be a and how do I call it? A best person within that particular area, but you have to have a basic grasp of financial literacy and how best you can manage your business. Because there are some critical standard practices that you have to adhere to if you want your business to grow and you want to stabilize and discipline yourself. That is very important, and most of the times it becomes difficult for most of the SMEs to do that, and which is a bit of a setback for most of them, because I've had the chance of working with a lot of them, 4 years, 5 years of experience, and they are facing such challenges. Another problem I've seen is that they are not familiar with electronic record keeping, which is expedient, because the electronic record keeping can generate instantly your your traction. It can generate how you are performing. And in the business of startups and SME at the early stages, decision is a very important aspect. And the only way you can dole out decision, not only with experience, because definitely they will have experience within the business, is as well visualization of how you are performing. Because it gives you a clear picture of your expenditure lines. It tells you how you are doing in terms of your revenue. And these are things that most SMEs largely do not take notice of, and they tend to have a side effect on their progress in terms of business. Another thing is the aspect of certain KPIs, and and it's extremely important. As in my slides, I indicated the necessity of developing KPIs. They tend not to have a 5 year plan, a 2 year, a 3 year plan on how you intend to build up your revenue and how you intend to control your expenditure. So these are things that I see most SMEs do not have. An aspect that is also very crucial is issues of compliance. I've had problem with SMEs who find it difficult to together, especially if you get into the books of the almighty Ghana Revenue Authority. It becomes very difficult for them to be able to manage those areas, because they will come at your beacon coin. They will definitely put pressure on you. So it becomes extremely expedient that they tend to get such experience within those areas. And most of SMEs are found wanting in that, especially at the initial stages, they register with the Ghana Revenue Authority. They tend to have difficulties in terms of filing their taxes as well. And if you don't do that, you have such challenges. If you don't take care, you have a lot of penalties and compensation that will come up. So in a nutshell, these are some of the few um, challenges I've seen SMEs. And another aspect is that most of them want funding, but it's difficult for them to prove to whether whether it's a financial institution or investor on, because there are two ways of you, which mostly there are two ways, largely two ways of you raising capital. Either you raise capital, equity capital, be it personal savings or friends and family or whatever, or equity capital, or you raise you go for a debt, a loan from either financial institution or microfinance or savings and loans. So whenever you decide to go for a loan, most of the times the banks has those risk assessment they do, and the risk assessment is that they tend not to understand your cash flow pattern. So it tend to be difficult for them to be able to lend to you. So it becomes so much difficult. The only way they can lend to you is if they shoot up the interest rate. And then you also will see the interest rate as very high. So you will not want to go for that particular one. That's the first one. The second one is equity. Whenever any investor want to invest, you want any investor to invest in your business, you want to see the returns that you want to make in the business. So most of SME do not have that traction to show in terms of returns. So most investors are not ready to really how do you call it, to really grow their money into that particular business. So these are some of the small challenges SMEs face.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Rabiu, for that insightful um, answer. I believe, Albert, your question was answered. So, is there any more questions? I just got notification from the second speaker that he's encountering network challenges, and because of that, he will not be able to present. But that notwithstanding, I believe this session has been of utmost benefit for each and every one of us. Okay, there's another further question in the chat box. Let's take that before we wrap things up here. The person is asking how to determine my current personal cash flow. So the person is now centering it on him or herself. How do I determine my current personal cash flow? So Rabi will take that, and then that will be the end for the session.
Yeah. So what he has to do is the money that comes in basically. So wherever source of money that comes in whatever expenses that he makes. So that is basically it. So if he's under salary, his basic salary, if he has how they call it savings, if he has certain investment that are maturing, that are bringing yield, and then expenses. If you are paying rent or your accommodation, your feeding, your food, your feeding, and then um, your transportation. So these are things that you have to look at. So if you are making maybe 1,000 cities, you've made 1,000 cities. How much am I spending on data and connections? How much am I spending on TNT? How much have I spent on this particular one? And then you record them down. There are two forms of it. Most of the times, what I do is that I look at the real-time cash flows. The real-time cash flows is money that comes in and money that goes out. But with the general cash flow statement, it largely talks about your income and expenditure. There are some incomes that have not yet come in, so they are not real time. You're anticipating they will come in, but they've not come in. But what those money that has come in is what you consider. And the money that you have spent is what you consider. If you want to make a post analysis of your cash flows, then you have to consider the real time ones, which has to do with money that has come in, that you have doled or you have spent. So these two is what you look at and see whether you have been able to get a positive cash flows or not.
That's a
I
very
don't know whether
brilliant answer. Yes, yes. I believe the person's question has been answered
Yes, yes.
because because most of us, a few of us, especially students, if we know we're about to have some money, we spend that money before it even comes, knowing that, I mean, we are expecting some money. But as our speaker is saying, real time expenditure, you only spend the money that you actually have at hand, so that you don't have debt before your next money comes. You understand? And with that being said, that will be the end of this session. But before we go, if there's anyone on the call with, further insights on the said topic, the floor is open for all of us to share our ideas. Probably someone has a personal experience, how they have planned their finances that is working currently for them. This is the time to share your thoughts with us so that we can all learn from each other before we go. So if there's someone who is interested in sharing their story, that is welcome currently. Is there anyone like that among us? Okay, no one is talking. Hello, Mariam. So great to see you back here again. Abigail Senna, hello. Thanks for joining us. Afitech Hub. I hope you have found this session helpful, Afitech Hub. Hello. Okay. James Totime, would you like to share what you have learned, James?
Um, yeah, it was help. I found it helpful.
Okay. Can you elaborate more?
Okay, so I learned that like um with this money issue, so you have to um how do you call this? Take records either manually or electronically. So with your expenses and stuff, so you have to take records with it so that you know how to save. So
Mm,
so that will even enable you to save more. So at the end, when you realize your expenses are more than your savings, it will it will encourage you to save more and know how to spend. Yeah. So that's what I learned. I learned.
awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Any other person who would like to say anything? Taria, I see you. John Wesley. All right. All right. Caleb. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. So, January's webinar is online now. It's on YouTube. So, if you missed our webinar last month, it's online now. So you can go on the ViztaEdu YouTube account and then you would find Job Fair Masterclass for students. It's fully packed with resources that will help if you are a student and you have probably you've not been part of any job fair, or you haven't really understood the relevance of job fair, or probably you may have been to a job fair before, but you didn't really maximize it. This masterclass is going to really open things for you. You should really go to the YouTube channel and make sure that you watch it, or you probably listen to it in case you want to listen to it while doing other things. It's very helpful. He gave numerous resources, especially one that the tech job fair which happened yesterday, and there's one being organized by the MasterCard which is going to happen very soon in March. Yeah, so you should really go back to YouTube and listen to it. Please subscribe and then let a student know about it. Also, we have exciting news for March. In March, we are having International Women's Day on 8th March. But ViztaEdu is collaborating with Black Girl Founder, and we are creating a meetup for young female students. So if you know anyone who is a student or in the tertiary institution, a young female to be particular, or even someone who owns the business, you understand? These are key people we need for this meetup. So it's happening on Friday, the 10th March 2023 on Google Meet. So just like this session has been, we are going to have young female students speak on their experiences, the educational journeys, the struggles, the challenges they face, how they were able to maneuver through it. Something that will inspire another person, or probably if you know any senior high school students who just graduated from senior high school and might not know how to go about, university life, or they are probably first year students in the university that you know of. Kindly let them know about it. Very soon we'll be sharing registration forms, but if someone or a young female student want to be on the panel to share their story, they can use the link on the flyer. The flyers will be shared on our social media pages as well, so you can please be in touch and be on the lookout for it. And in March also, we have an upcoming webinar that is a young student who is doing marvelously well in the tech space. He's going to share his story on how he came about computer science or he entered tech. Currently, he's a Google Student Club developer at his university, Central University, and he's going to really share a lot of insights to us. So if you don't know Gideon Salami, you should go and look out for him because he is going to be on our webinar in March. Yes, so that is what we have for you in March. And also, do not forget to shoot us a review on our social media pages on YouTube. If you watch any of our webinars, please do put in a review on it or a comment so that you can boost our reach, so that YouTube can recommend our content to other people and more people would be able to be a part of us. So on that note, thank you all so much for staying with us throughout. My name is Akwele Okai. I'm the CEO and co-founder of ViztaEdu. And as you may have been aware in the beginning, I mentioned that ViztaEdu, what we are doing is we are creating a platform for young people in the tertiary institutions to share ideas, to collaborate on projects, and basically network and impact each other, because we believe that students can impact wherever they are, no matter where they find themselves, and their story counts. Our story as students counts. So thank you so much. This has been a very wonderful session. Thank you all. Thank you to our speakers, speaker Rabiwu. We are most grateful for your time. And thank you to you all who were able to be part of this session. And let's meet in March on the last Thursday of March. Yeah. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. Bye.